Today is another wonderful day that we are coming to learn. So I want you to take your notebook. I want you to take your pen and I want you to follow me. Today we are coming to learn something about living things and non-living things. And this comes under diversity of matter. Okay, so I want you to follow me. So before I start, today we are going to learn something about the life process of living things. The life process of living things is under the living things and non-living things, uh, as in a subtopic under living things and non-living things. So one thing you have to understand is that for life to be sustained, there are certain function and process that must occur or that must take place. So these basic essential activities that every living organism perform are referred to as life processes. So when we talk about life processes, I believe you can tell me the definition of life process. Okay, so life processes, they are the necessary or basic important activities that organisms perform. And so actually we have seven life processes that living organisms will perform. Seven life processes performed by living organisms. So basically we have seven life processes. So you have the first one as movement, you have the second one as respiration, you have the third one as growth, you have the fourth one as reproduction, you have secretion, you have excretion and leaf processes. Before I pick these life processes one by one, I want to talk about living things and non-living things. That is what I first mentioned. Now, when we talk about living things are organisms or they are things that have life in them. So they have life in them, but non-living things, they are the things that do not have life in them or they are lifeless. So examples of living things are you have dog, cat, lizard, elephant, um, ant, cockroaches. All these are examples of all these are examples of living things. And for non-living things, we have some examples as um, bed, chair. This chair is an example of what non-living things. We have phones, sheds. There are many mountains, water, soup, rice. All these are rice is a living thing. So soup. We have buildings. So these are examples of what of non-living things. Okay. So as I was saying, there are certain things that living things do. Okay, that we consider them as our life processes. Okay, so I made you to understand that living things actually they have seven life processes. Okay, you mentioned the first one as movement, the second one as respiration, we have the third one as secretion, we have growth. Okay, human beings grow. We have reproduction, we have expression, then the last one is what? Nutrition. So all these are what? The life processes that living organisms we perform. Okay, we human beings too are also parts of what? Living organisms. Okay. Now so we are going to pick them one by one. So I will start with growth. Over here, I'll be making a comparison between plant and what? Animals. Plant and animals. And we human beings who are classified as part of what? Animals. We belong to the kingdom Animalia. That's what we came to learn in science. So as I said, I'll be taking the life process one by one, and I'll be comparing it between plant and what animal. So the first one I'm going to take is growth in living organism. So growth in living organism. I will pick plant. Okay. So one thing you have to understand is that for plants, there's a process called germination, and we understand that germination is the process whereby a viable seed starts to grow into what? A young plant. Okay, so plants usually start their life process as what? As a seed. Then this seed develop into what? A seedlings, okay, or a young plant. Then later on it grows into a tree, yeah, or a shrub or a hair. Okay. So growth in plant occurs as the stem lengthen, as the roots lengthen. Okay, so the plants that are woody, okay, realize that they increase in thickness during their lifespan. So you see a plant with a small stem, a stem like my hand. Later on, after giving it 5 years, it will start to thicken. Okay, so you see that the stem has become what? Very big. Okay, so the increase in length of the shoot and the root of a plant is referred to as what? Primary growth of plant. So in short, when someone asks you what is the definition of growth, what we use to say growth is simply the increase in size of a living organism. The increase in size or shapes of a living organism is referred to as what? Growth. Okay. Now, so we are going to talk about growth in animals. Okay. So we all know that for animals, just like some plants, we all eat. Okay. So when animals eat food, this food is transformed into a usable energy for cells and can be used to build what? New cells. Okay. So these cells later on form tissues. So you have tissues of the eyes, the skin tissues. Okay. You have your muscle, tissues of your muscle, your nerve tissues. All these things develop. Okay, when you eat. And I think respiration, we'll come to that when we get to respiration. So when you eat, okay, your food turns into a usable form. Okay, a usable form which helps your body to grow well. Okay, so it helps your body to develop certain cells. These cells also develop into what? Tissues. Okay, so this process of growth involves eating food. Okay, so after eating food, this food is broken down through a process called what? Digestion. Okay, then through digestion, absorption takes place. So you realize that the carbohydrate in your food will be converted into glucose. So glucose is the end product of what? Carbohydrate. Glucose is the end product of carbohydrates, and the same thing is applied to protein. The end product of protein is amino acid. So amino acid is the end product of what? Protein. Then for fat and oil, they too give us. So as I said, digestion means breaking down complex food substance into what? A simpler absorbable form. Okay, so from digestion we move to absorption. Absorption is very, very important. So what it means is that the end product of the food you've taken in, okay, will be absorbed into the what? Body. Okay, so this is where your body absorbs these nutrients, okay, food nutrients, and it's going to use it. Okay, so with the carbohydrates or the energy giving food, they will produce what? Energy. Okay, So they release energy into the body, and it's this energy that you use to run, use to do other life activities, perform other life activities, so like dancing, singing, talking. All these things are derived from the food, for the energy giving food we eat. Examples of this energy giving food are banku, cassava food, plantain, rice. So all these are what? Energy, maize. All these are now what? Energy giving food. And we have protein. Protein. Okay. So they are the body building food. Okay. So the body needs them to what? To build our body. So if you want to grow well, then you will need what? Uh, body building food. Examples are the protein. Okay. Then you have the protective food. Protective food. So as the name implies, they protect the body against what? Disease. They protect the body against disease. Okay, so you have vitamins and what? Minerals, mineral salts. All these are very, very important. So I want us to proceed. So the first one we talk about was what? Growth. Okay, so we are going to talk about sensitivity. Okay, sensitivity. So when we talk about sensitivity, we are looking at how an organism responds to external stimuli or stimulus. Okay, how living organism responds to its environment. So living things can sense and feel what is going on around them, and they can respond to it. So we call this process what? Sensitivity or irritability. So another name for sensitivity is irritability. Okay, so I'm going to talk about sensitivity in plants. Then after that, I will look at sensitivity in what? Animals. Okay, so plants can feel the changes in their environment, and they can what? Respond to them. They too can also feel the changes in the environment and can respond to it. So what plants do is that they detect and respond to light. Okay, so they can detect and respond to light, gravity. Okay, they can respond to changes in what? Temperature, chemicals, and even touch. Okay, so light, we are going to take them one by one. We will begin with the light. Light influence how the shoots grow. Okay, so it influences how the shoots grow. And when we talk about the shoot, we are talking about the uppermost part of what? The plant. Okay, or the upper part of the plant. So you have the shoot system and you have what? The root system. The root system is the ones buried in the ground. So it contains the roots. Okay, but when we talk about the shoot system, we are looking at the stem, the branches, the leaves, and the fruits and vegetables. So all these form what? Part of the shoot system. And as I was saying, the shoot system is influenced by what? Sunlight or light. It determines how a plant shoots or what it will grow. They bend towards it so that the leaves can have maximum light. So the leaves need light for a process called photosynthesis. So later on we will look at more. Okay, we'll talk more about photosynthesis. Because we know that photosynthesis is the process whereby green plants they manufacture their own plants using what? The energy from the sunlight and water and mineral soil from what? The soil. So like I said, the leaves need what? More sunlight to prepare it. So because of that, the shoot system it positions the leaf in such a way that it can receive maximum sunlight. The root pushes down through the sun because of the effect of gravity. Okay, so the root also pushes down. So you realize that gravity is acting on what? On the root. Okay, so it's moved downwards because of what? The force of gravity. So example is for a sunflower. When we talk about sunflower, you realize that sunflower usually faces the sun. It turns its face towards what? The sun. Yeah, the movement is too slow to be noticed in the morning. So all the flowers head face east. By the evening, they face what? West. Okay. So they always what face east in the morning, and in the evening they face what? West. And I believe that you know the um position the sun rises from in the morning and where it settles at in the evening. Another example is the mimosa plant. It's one of the sensitive plants we can talk of. It's also called humble plant. Okay. This plant responds to touch by rapidly closing its what? Leaves. Okay. And dropping it. Okay. So it usually responds to what? It rapidly responds to what? Touch. So after touching it, okay, you see it closing its leaf, then what? Dropping it. Mhm. So for plants, we will maintain these examples. First one being the sunlight, and the second one being the mimosa plant. Now I want to talk about animals. Okay, we want to talk about sensitivity in animals. We want to find out how animals respond to what? The external stimuli or the environment. Okay, so animals have sense organs. So for we animals, including humans, we have what? Sense organs like eyes. The eyes is used for what? Seeing, and it tells what is going on around you. We also have sense organs like your nose. Okay, your nose is a sense organ. So we use that one to detect what? Smell. Okay. So these sense organs are connected to what? Your nervous system. So you have the nervous system. The nervous system consists of the brain and what? Your spinal cord. Okay. Spinal cord and your brain and other nerves. Okay, so the sense organ is usually connected to what? Or it's linked to this nervous system. And they carry signals to the brain. So when they detect any signal, okay, they will convey this signal to what? Information about this to what? To the brain. Okay, causing a response such as movement. Yeah. So for example, if you are bitten by an animal, okay, at any part, maybe your skin, so it's going to send message to what? Or it's going to send message to the nervous system. Okay. Uh-huh. The nerves around you, and the nerves will convey it to what? The spinal cord. Then from your spinal cord, it moves to your brain. So your brain is also going to respond to it. So your brain might tell you to also what? To move. Okay. So this is what we call what? Movement in what? Animals. Most animals have many senses. We have sense of what? Taste. Taste. How we taste food. Okay. Uh-huh. And you all know that the organ responsible for this is what? The tongue. Smell. Okay. So we detect smell with what? With the help of our ears. Our nose, sorry. Smell with our nose. Then we have touch. Okay. We detect touch with what? Our skin. Sight. Sight. I've already said about that. So sight we see with our eyes. Hearing to we hear with our ears. So all these are what? Sense organs. Mouth, ears, tongue, skin. So these are examples of what? Sense organs. Okay. So when someone is bringing his or her hand around your eyes, you realize that you respond to that. Okay. Now we want to talk about respiration in living things. Okay. So we are done with what? With irritability or sensitivity. So we are going to the third one, which is what? Respiration in living organisms. respiration in what? Living organism. So all living things respire or we breathe. So when we talk about respiration, what is respiration? So respiration is the process whereby living organism we pause. So respiration is the process whereby living organism we obtain energy from the food we eat with or without the use of oxygen. Okay, with or without the use of oxygen. So we will talk about the life process that involves oxygen and the other one that does not involve the use of oxygen. You have the aerobic respiration, you have the anaerobic respiration. The aerobic respiration is the one that involves the use of what oxygen. There's a type of respiration that uses what oxygen, but the anaerobic does not involve what oxygen in its life activity. So, like I said, all living things breathe, we respire. Okay, both plants and animals use the process of respiration to release what? Energy. Okay, so we release energy from what? Oxygen and glucose. Okay, so I want us to take plants and talk about how respiration takes place in plants. So plants require oxygen for what? Respiration. Plants also require oxygen for respiration, which in turn give out what? Carbon dioxide. Okay, so plants have small holes called what? Stomata. Plants, they also have small holes called stomata on their leaves. So it is this small holes that absorbs oxygen in it. Okay, so this is present in the leaf. And on their stems, they have lenticels. Lenticels is also involved in what? Respiration. Okay, so it's also involved in the exchange of gases. That is gases, exchange of gas between oxygen and what? Carbon dioxide. So plants respire throughout their lifespan. Okay, so the life, a plant, they respire throughout their lifespan. Okay, when respiration stops, it means that life in what? In that particular plant has what? It has ended. So it means that you can't stop what? Respiring. So respiration is very, very what? Important. Okay, so plants do not breathe as human beings and animals do. Okay, so they breathe through a process called what? Cellular respiration. So they have a process called what? Cellular respiration. So in this process of cellular respiration, plants they release what? Glucose molecules through a process called photosynthesis. Okay, so we are saying that through the process of cellular respiration is a respiration that takes place in what? In cells. Okay, so in the process of cellular respiration, okay, where the plants produce what? Glucose molecules through the process of photosynthesis. Okay, and we need this glucose to what? To perform other life activities. And we need this glucose to perform other life activities. So this involves capturing solar energy. So first of all, it absorbs energy from what? The sunlight, and it will convert it into what? Glucose. Okay, so during respiration, a very little amount of gas exchange takes place within different plants, different parts of the plant. Okay, so you realize that in the root, stem, and leaves of plants, exchange gases, they exchange gases for respiration separately. Okay, the process happen differently among what these parts of our plant. Okay, so first of all, I want you to understand that oxygen is also important. So oxygen is absorbed through the root. Okay, and it's used to release what? Energy. In the case of the stem, the air gets diffused into the stomata and it passes through what? The various parts of the cells for respiration to take place. And for the leaves, this exchange of gases, it happens in the stomata, as I've already said. And I made you to understand that stomata is a small holes in what? In the leaf. So we are continuing. Okay, we are going to look at the respiratory organs of some living organisms. Okay, living organisms, we have different organs for respiration. Okay, so for unicellular organisms, when we talk about unicellular organisms, they are organisms that have only one cells. Okay, they have only one cells, and some examples are amoeba, paramecium, euglena. All these are what unicellular organisms. The respiratory organ for some unicellular organisms are cell membrane. Okay, now we want to talk about the earthworm. The earthworm. Okay, so earthworm, which is usually found in the soil, their respiratory organ is what? Is their skin. Okay, now let's talk about aquatic organisms. So aquatic organisms, they are organisms that lives in the water bodies. Okay, that's where they dwell. That's where they live, and they can't survive on land. So we call these animals what? Aquatic organisms. So examples of these aquatic organisms are fish, we have shark, we have whales. Okay, all these are aquatic animals. Their respiratory organ is what? Gills. Okay, their respiratory organs are gills. So gills are their organ of what? Respiration. Now let's talk about insects like cockroach, grasshopper. They have an organ called spirochete. So the spirochete is the organ responsible for what? Respiration. Now for organisms living on land, okay, lungs are their organ of what? Respiration. So lungs is their respiratory organ. So I want you to understand this. Okay. So now before I continue, I want you to understand that respiration in plants and animals sometimes they can be different. Okay, so I want us to look at the differences between respiration in plants and respiration in what? Animals. We want to look at the differences. Okay, so first of all, we want to look at respiration in plants. Okay, so all the parts of plants perform respiration individually. That's for the plant. The first one is that for plants, all the parts of the plant perform respirations individually. But respiration in an animal perform respiration as a single unit. Okay. The second example is this. During respiration in plants, there's a little transport of respiratory gases from one part of the plant to the other. But for respiration in animals, okay, the respiratory gases are usually transported inside an animal during what? Respiration. Yeah. And respiration in plant occurs at a slow rate. Once you have to understand is that respiration in plants it occurs at what? A very slow rate. But respiration in animals happens or it takes place at a much faster rate. Okay. And so this is all about respiration in living organisms. So now that we are done with respiration in living organisms, let's move to expression in living organisms. So we want to talk about expression. Okay, so when we talk about expression, we all know that expression to excrete means to pass out or to release unwanted substance from the body. Okay, so chemical reactions occurs in the cells of living organisms all the time to carry out life process. Okay, so you all know that chemical reaction takes place in all cells. Chemical reaction it takes place in what? All cells of living organisms. all the time to carry out what life processes. So the sum of these reactions is called metabolism. So when we talk about metabolism, we are looking at the chemical reactions that occurs in what cells of what organisms. Okay, yeah. So during metabolism, useful products are what they are produced, as well as what unwanted or poisonous products. So these poisonous products, it can harm your body. It has negative impact or effect on your body, and they are very harmful. So the body have to remove all these unwanted parts from it. Okay, yeah. So the removal of this unwanted part or this metabolic waste product from the body of an organism is referred to as what excretion. So when we talk about excretion, it's the removal of what unwanted part of the body, unwanted part of substances from the body of what an organisms. Okay. Uh-huh. So we are going to talk about excretory products. Some of the product that is not wanted in the human body or in living organisms. Okay. So we want to talk about excretory products. So the first one we will talk about is carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide is usually produced as a result of metabolic activity. So during respiration, we all know that oxygen and glucose they burn. Okay, so when it's burned, it releases energy and carbon dioxide. You need the energy, but carbon dioxide is not needed. And because of that, it has to be taken out from your body. And we call this process what expression. So it is through expression that carbon dioxide it comes out of your body. Okay, so carbon dioxide is not needed. Okay, in humans. Okay, but for plants, carbon dioxide is needed in a process called photosynthesis. Okay, so plant need carbon dioxide to produce what food through a process called what carbon dioxide. So it needs it in what sunlight, and it will combine it with what glucose. It will combine it with what other substance to produce glucose. So let's proceed. So another excretory product is excess water. Okay, yeah. So water must pass out. So body cannot accumulate all water or all the water that we drink. So it has to pass somewhere, excrete some. So excess water is an excretory product. Then you have nitrogenous compound. Okay, so these nitrogenous compound are also not needed. So these nitrogenous compounds are ammonia. Okay, ammonia, we have urea, we have uric acid. All these things should be passed out because they are not needed and they are also poisonous. Okay, so they will be very harmful to your body if you allow it to stay in your body. And so let's talk about the excretory organs of other organisms. So excretory products, the excretory organ of insect are tubular. Tubular. So tubular is the excretory product of what? Insect. Invertebrate. Okay. Like we human beings are part of our vertebrate. Okay. Kidney is our organ of what? Excretion. Okay. So we excrete excess water, we excrete um, urea. Okay. As our nitrogenous compound is not needed, so it needs to be excreted out. So I want to look at excretion in human beings. Remember I said that for vertebrates, kidney is their organ of excretion. Okay, kidney is their excretory product. So although kidneys are the main organs of excretion, the skin, lungs, and liver also can also help in what expression. Okay, so I want you to understand that kidney is not the only organ of expression in humans. Okay, we have other organs like skin. So with skin, it excretes excess water. Okay, it excretes water. It also excretes for salt. Okay, from your body. The lungs is also an organ of expression. So after taking in oxygen, okay, so that this oxygen goes to burn what the glucose that you food, the food that you put in, and respiration takes place. When respiration takes place, energy is released. Carbon dioxide is also what produced as a byproduct. So this carbon dioxide must be taken out of your body. You are very dangerous. Your body doesn't need it again, and because of that, your lungs, okay, is responsible for what excreting carbon dioxide. Liver also play a role in what expression. Our liver also play a role in excretion. So like I said, our skin, it has sweat glands. Through them, we excrete small amount of water, urea and what salt. Our skin has what small amount of what water. Our skin has sweat gland, and what the sweat gland does is that we excrete small amount of water, urea and what salt. Then I talk about liver. So the liver secretes what bile. Okay, the liver also excretes cholesterol. Cholesterol is not needed by our body. Okay, they are the bad salt. Bad salt. We have the lungs. The lungs excrete carbon dioxide. Okay, and our kidney, as I said, it consists of blood vessels, ureter. It has some blood vessels in them. Okay, and these form part of what the excretory system. Now, the excretory system of humans consists of us kidneys. It also consists of blood vessels, ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra, and these help to produce and excrete what urine. Okay, but when you have problem with these organs, okay, it can affect you. Okay, so for example, if you are having kidney failure, it means you wouldn't be able to release excess water, even urea and salt. Okay, you would you suffer. So because of that, you have to take good care of what of your kidney. Okay, you have to be conscious about what your kidney. Okay, so there are certain things that destroys your kidney. Yeah, or reduce the function of your kidney. You have to stop drinking. Drinking alcohol can destroy your kidney. Then drinks that contain caffeine, okay, can also have negative impact on your kidney. Too much of cholesterol food or fatty food also have negative effects on what your kidney. So you have to be careful about it. You have to desist from all these things. And what you have to understand is that when your blood pressure also rises, it affects your kidney. Okay, yeah, so you have to keep your blood pressure under check. Yeah, you have to keep it under check. So your kidney, they are bean shaped and they are reddish brown in color, just like a beans, the shape of a beans. Okay. Now I want to talk about expression in plants. Expression in what plants? So compared to animals, plants do not have a well-developed excretory system to throw out the nitrogenous waste materials. Okay, so gaseous waste materials are produced during photosynthesis and what respiration. What do that during photosynthesis? Oxygen is released, okay, and during respiration too, carbon dioxide is released. So because there are exchange of gases, okay, you need what? You need a respiratory organ, okay, to allow the byproduct to release. Okay, so it happens through what? It takes place in the stomata by a process called what? Transpiration. Yeah. So let's pause it. So we are continuing our lesson. Today, I want us to look at it. As we are continuing, we are looking at the difference between living things and non-living things. We are looking at the difference between living things and non-living things. So we are looking at the difference between living things and non-living things. Okay. So the difference between living things and non-living things. So living things can move. Living things can move. Another word for the movement in living things is locomotion. So when we talk about locomotion, we are also talking about what movement. Okay, so living things move, but non-living things cannot move on their own. They have to be what carried. Okay. The second example, second difference is that living things grow with time, and non-living things do not what grow. Okay, they cannot grow with time. Living things respire, but non-living things do not respire. Living things and um, they eat. Living things eat. Okay, non-living things do not what eat. Okay, living things eat. Non-living things what do not really eat. Living things feel changes around them. Living things can detect what stimuli, and non-living things do not feel any changes around them. Living things can reproduce. So reproduction, okay, is simply how living organism they can produce their young ones, okay, of their kind. They can produce young ones of their kind. Okay, that's what respiration reproduction is. Living the life process I then talk about reproduction. Reproduction is very, very important. Okay, plants and animals, we all what we produce. Okay, so the reason why we still have other species of organism existing is because of reproduction. Okay, so reproduction means is a process of producing young ones of your own. It's a process whereby living organisms produce their young ones of their own. So the latter part of their own means that plants, or let me use cat. Cat cannot give birth to what? Dog. Okay, so cat give birth to another organism of its kind, of its species. Okay, so I want us to proceed. So living things can reproduce, but non-living things cannot what? Reproduce. Okay, so under reproduction, we will later come to look at the two types of reproduction. You have the sexual reproduction and you have the asexual or asexual reproduction. The sexual reproduction involves the fusion of what? A male and female sex cell. But the asexual reproduction, it does not involve the fusion of male and female sex cell. Okay, yeah, it doesn't involve it. I think when we're starting, I list some examples of our living things and non-living things. Okay, so we are still on the characteristics of living things. Living things can grow, living things can respire, living things require energy to perform their life or activities. Okay, living things can grow. I've said it. We obtain and what use energy. Plants use energy to produce what? Eat food in a process called photosynthesis. So living things also produce their young ones. So all these are what? All these are characteristics of what? Living things. Okay. So all these are characteristics of living things. Now, now that we are done with living things, okay, we are let's talk about the physical state of substance. Okay, All these things are under matter. Okay, remember that as I was beginning, I talked about the diversity of what matter. When we talk about matter, matter is anything that has mass and can occupy space. Matter is anything that has mass and can occupy space. Okay, then we have the states of matter, the three states of matter. We have solid, liquid, gas. Okay, so today we are going to take them one by one. Okay, then we will learn more about these states of matter. Okay, so we are looking at the physical state of matter or physical state of substance. Remember that I've already told you that we have three states of matter. They are solid, liquid, and what? Gas. So as we advance to higher level, we will come to learn that there is one more state of matter called plasma. Okay, but at this level, let's focus on solid, liquid, gas. So we have already studied about the state of matter, and we learned that we have three physical states of matter. You have solid, liquid, gas. Now, I want us to look at the difference between the shapes of the liquid, shapes of the gas, and shapes of what? Of a solid. Okay, of solid. So solid have a definite shape and definite volume. Solid, they have definite shape and definite what? Volume. Okay, and for shape, I believe you know what shape is. And when we talk about volume, we are looking at the space occupied by what? Matter. So volume is the space occupied by matter. So as I'm here, I've occupied some space. Okay. This chair too has occupied what? Space. Okay. Even the air around here, okay, around me, as like it's also occupying space. Okay. So solid have a definite shape and what? Definite volume. Now what about liquid? Liquid have definite volume but do not have a definite shape. So liquid has definite volume, okay, but it does not have definite what shape. Gas does not have definite shape. It doesn't have a definite volume. Okay, so I believe so far you will know the difference between solid, liquid, gas. For solid, we say that it has definite shape and definite volume. While liquid has definite volume, it does not have definite what? Shape. Gas neither has a definite shape and what? A definite volume. Now, we are going to look at this. Change is constant. I want you to understand that change is constant. Changes happens all around us, even within us. Okay, every day we see different objects changing around us. Yeah, we see different objects changing around us. So, for example, melting of ice. Okay, ice is already solid. It's solid in that state, but it can melt to change towards a different shape. Cooking of food. Cooking of food. Some food you have to blend it. Okay, so it means that because of the blending, it changes its form from some changes for its form from solid state to what? To liquid state. Yeah, we have a whole lot to talk about. In some cases, one can get back the original substance. In some cases, it is not possible. Okay, so for example, you can when an ice melts, okay, you can also get the ice back, but it is different in the case of what? It's different in the case of um having tomatoes, okay, blending tomatoes from a solid state to a liquid state. It's not possible to convert it back to its original form. It's really, really not possible. Okay. So some changes are slow, but others too are fast. Some of the changes occurs very fast, but some too it takes what? Time. It takes time. Some are natural, some too are what? Man-made. So some changes are reversible. So when we talk about reversible, reversible means it can be brought back to the original state, but irreversible means it is not possible to change it back to its original form. Yeah. So I believe you know the difference between reversible change and what? Irreversible change. Okay, so like I said, any change which can be reversed is refers to as a, it is referred to as a reversible change. But those that cannot be reversed is referred to as what? An irreversible change. Okay. So irreversible changes are permanent changes. Okay, one thing about irreversible changes is that it is what they are permanent changes, but reversible changes are temporary. It means that it can also be changed to what another form. Okay, once you change it to you've changed it from A to form B. It can be changed from B to form what? From A. Okay. The irreversible change, once it has been changed, so this is just a summary of everything under living things and non-living things. Remember that as I was starting this presentation, I explained to you what living things are and what non-living things are. And I made you to understand that living things are things that have life in them, but non-living things are those that do not have life in them. So we looked at some examples of living things and non-living things. With the living things, we said that some examples are lions, tiger, cheetah, plants. We have so many plants. We have orange plants, banana plant, plantain plant, we have cassava plant, we have cocoyam plant, we have palm nuts. All these are examples of what? Plant. Okay, so let's proceed. All these are examples of living things. Okay, we also have non-living things. Remember that I said that non-living things are the things that do not have life in them. So examples are from examples are this. Okay, so we looked at all these things. They also talked about life processes. I made you to understand that living things have life processes. Okay, and we have some things that we exhibit that indicates that we are living things. So I mentioned them as movement. We have respiration. We have sensitivity, also known as irritability. We also talked about growth. I explained to you that growth is the increase in size and shape of an organism. We looked at reproduction. Reproduction is the result where living organisms give rise to their young ones, give rise to their young ones of their own kind. Okay, and I explained to you that goats cannot give birth to cock. It hasn't happened that way. So that's for non-living things. So that's what living things, their characteristics. Remember that I've mentioned movement, I've mentioned reproduction, I've mentioned respiration, I've mentioned sensitization and irritability, I've mentioned growth, I've mentioned reproduction, I've mentioned, okay, so we are excretion. I talked about excretion. The living organism, we excrete the unwanted products, okay, unwanted metabolic products. We also mentioned nutrition. Okay, the living organism, we what we eat. We say that this food to help us to grow, get energy from what this food, and some to protect us against what diseases. So all this is a summary of everything I said under living organisms, living and non-living organisms. But I want us to talk about non-living organisms. I believe that I've said a lot about life process, and this life process were under living things. Now, for non-living things, I want us to look at this. We will be talking about material as important resource for providing human needs. So we human beings, we need what? Other materials to make our life successful, life successful for us. So we see many things around us. So we have chairs, like the one I'm sitting on. We have ball. We do play ball, books. Okay, I have books here that have written everything under it. Stones for building, cement, many others. Okay, so once you have to understand is that these materials do have their shapes. Okay, they are of different shapes. okay, colors and uses. Okay, what we use this chair for is different from what we use this book for. It's different from what we use this shirt for. Imagine we living on this earth without shirts. We'll be surprised seeing each other. And maybe it will be normal. Like it will be normal to see your friend naked. I don't know. So let's proceed. So like I said, these objects are made up of different materials. Okay, objects are made up of different materials. This chair was made from what? Wood. Okay. So this chair too also was made from another material. So we will look at all these things. Have you ever wondered why a tumbler is not made up of a piece of cloth? So a tumbler is used for holding what? Liquid. Okay, therefore it would be silly if we make a tumbler of cloth. So the bucket that we use, okay, we can't use cloth to make the bucket that we use to fetch water. Because it can't hold water. Do you get me? So we need materials like glass, plastic, and metal that can hold water to make all these objects. So we see that we have to choose a material to make an object on the basis of its property. Okay, so the purpose for which object is to be used must be considered. Okay, clay is used for making pots. So clay is used for making pots. A piece of cloth cannot be used for the same. Okay, so raffia palm is used for making baskets because it can bend easily. Let's proceed. We are going to look at properties of materials. Materials also have their properties. So we are looking at the properties of material. So material usually look different from each other. It look different from each other. So the first property we talk about is what? Appearance, how they appear, how materials appear. So like I said, they look what? Different from each other. So wood looks very different from iron. Okay, wood looks very different from iron. The same thing is applied to this wood and what? This building. Okay, this wall. Okay, you can see that they are different. Okay, they are different. Okay, iron appears different from copper. Okay, even though they are all metals, but the appearance are different. At the same time, there may be some similarities between iron and copper and aluminium. Remember that they are what? They are metals, and they can conduct what? Electricity. They can conduct heat. Okay, so it is very dangerous to go and touch an electric wire which has electricity flowing through it with an aluminium, copper, or steel. It's very dangerous. You may even kill yourself because it will electrocute you. Remember that these metals I've mentioned are not found in wood. Okay, so let's look at the different materials. So we have paper. Paper is a material. We have cardboard. We have wood. We have copper. We have aluminium sheet. We have chalk. These are what? Some material. I want to ask you, do they look the same? They look what? Different. Okay, so the materials that have luster are usually metal. Okay, so luster means they are shiny. Do you get it? Shiny. So materials that have luster are usually metals. So examples of these materials are iron, copper, aluminum, silver, gold. So all these are what? Metals. So the first one we mentioned is what? Appearance, how they look like. And I made you to understand that materials look different. Okay, they look different. Now the second property we look at is what? Hardness. Okay, hardness. Okay, when you press them, how do they, if you press them, okay, how compressed are they? That's what we are looking at. Okay, so when you press different material with your hand, some of them may be hard to press, some too are hard, soft. Okay, so let us look at this. you having a metal key trying to scratch the surface of a piece of wood, okay, aluminum or a piece of stone or a nail candle, you can easily scratch some materials, but you realize that with some other materials you can't scratch them easily. So like you using a key, okay, a window key, okay, to scratch the surface of a wood, you realize that that one is easy, okay. You can easily scratch the surface than the surface of what? A metal like aluminium, okay. You encounter difficulties. So this comes to stand that these materials are of what? Different level of what? Hardness, okay. So the materials can be compressed or scratched easily are soft, but those that are difficult to compress or scratch are called what? Hard. Okay, they are called hard. So we want to look at some examples of materials that can be scratched or compressed easily, and those that can not be scratched easily. Okay, so those that are soft examples are this wood. Okay, we have paper. Yeah, we have paper. They can be scratched easily. We have sponge, cotton. Okay, but those that are difficult to be scratched or compressed, examples are iron. Iron is very hard. We have aluminium and the likes. These are very hard. Now, let's talk about another property. That is a textile. So when we talk about textile, we are looking at how rough or smooth a substance is. So when we talk about textile, we are looking at how rough or smooth a substance is. Okay, so there are some substances that have a rough surface. Some substances also have a smooth what? Surface. So some have a rough surface, others also have what? A smooth surface. So we want to look at examples of these substances, those that are rough. When you rub your hands against it, and those that are rough, okay. So I want to use this as an example. It is very what? Smooth, okay, but okay, this is a little smooth, okay, but there are some surfaces that are very what? Rough, okay, that are very rough, okay. I think this part of the wall is very what? Rough, okay, but this is what? Smooth, okay. So now let's talk about the next property, that is opaque or transparent materials. Some materials are opaque, some are also translucent. So with this, we are looking at the amount of light that can pass through materials. So material that allows light to pass through them completely are referred to as what? Transparent materials. So for transparent materials, they allow light to what? To pass through them easily. Okay, so examples of these are glass. Okay, glass. Water too is also transparent. Then you have transparent polyethylene. Okay, there's some transparent polyethylene that can allow light to pass through them. Water too allows light to pass through them. Some glass too also allows light to also pass through them. So we call these materials what? Transparent materials. So transparent materials are those that allows light to pass through them completely. The materials which do not allow any light to pass through them are referred to as what? Opaque objects. So when we talk about opaque objects, they are materials that do not allow light to pass through them easily. Okay, so examples are, we have wood, we have walls, okay, blocks. All these are what? Examples of what? Opaque objects. Okay, books are also opaque objects. Okay, we have metals, we have cardboard. All these are what? Opaque objects. Okay, so this shirt of mine is what? Opaque object. It's not easy for light to pass through them. Okay. So let's also talk about another properties of material. So material that can bend and those which cannot bend. Some can bend, some cannot bend. Okay. So some can bend, some are not easily bendable. Okay, so material that can bend but do not break are flexible and are also known as bendable. Okay, so those that can bend, okay, that can bend. I think it has another name called malleability. Yeah, malleable means it has the ability to be bent without what? Breaking. They are used for various specific purposes. So example is the raffia palm. Okay, it's used in making what? Basket. It's because it can be bent. Okay, so they use that one to make the basket. Then you have glass fiber. It's used in construction. So we have some glass fiber which we use as construction. The reason why we do that is because it can bend. Okay. Some plastics too are bendable. So they are also used for making many things. Some plastics too are also bendable. And like I'm saying, there are some materials which cannot be bent at all. Some materials cannot be bent at all. So for example, I can't bend this wood. Okay. So it is difficult to bend what? This wood. The diamond is also another example. We have graphite. Graphite is also not bendable, but it's not malleable. Okay. So let's also talk about the reversibility and the reversibility of what? Substance. Okay, how substance change their forms. Okay. So remember that I don't know if I've told you matter. Okay, matter has three states. There are three states of matter. Okay, you have solid, liquid, and what? Gas. Solid, liquid, and what? Gas. Solid, liquid, and gas. Solid, liquid, and what? Gas. Okay, so before we look at the reversibility or reversible substance or change of substance, I want us to look at some keywords. First of all, what are matter or what is matter? Matter is anything that has mass and can occupy what? Space. Or you can also define matter as anything that has mass and what? Volume. Okay, so because volume is the space occupied by what? Matter. So if matter is anything that has mass and can occupy space, then it means that matter is anything that has mass and what? Volume. Because space, anything that occupies space is referred to as what? Volume. Okay, so like I said, we have three states of matter. They are solid, liquid, and what? Gas. Okay, so for the solid, we want to look at the difference between solid, liquid, and what? Gas. So I'll start with our solid. Solid have what? A definite shape and a definite volume. It has a definite shape. Solid has a definite shape like this. It has a definite shape. It also has a definite volume. Remember that when I was explaining to you what volume is, I said that volume is the space occupied by what? A matter. So this is occupying what? This space. Do you get it? Liquid. Liquid also have definite shape, but it doesn't have what? Definite. Liquid has definite volume, but it doesn't have definite shape. Okay. So liquid, what they do is that they take the shape of what? The container that they are in. Okay. So they take the shape of the container that they are found. Okay, so liquid do not have a definite shape, but they have a definite what? Volume. Now let's talk about gas. Gas does not have a definite shape. Gas does not have what? A definite volume. It does not have a definite shape. It does not have a definite what? Volume. This is what gas is. So gas does not have a definite shape. It does not have a definite what? Volume. Now, so let's talk about the change of the state of matter. Remember that change is constant. As I'm talking to you, there are a lot of changes that are what? Taking place. Changes are taking place. Okay. Changes happens all around us. Okay. Even within us, changes are what? Taking place. Okay. Every day we see different objects changing around us. Okay, so for example, some of the things are melting of ice, okay, um burning of food, burning of papers. All these are some changes of our state of matter. Okay, so cooking of food. Whilst we are cooking food, there are some changes of state, change of matter also occurs. Okay, while food is being cooked. So for example, when someone is frying egg, okay, egg is changed from a liquid state to what? A solid state. Okay, so this also brings us to reversible change and irreversible change. Okay, one can get back the original substance. In some cases, it is not possible. The ones that can get back its original substance are referred to as reversible objects, and those that cannot get back their original substance are referred to as irreversible change. Okay, some are natural, some are what? Man-made. Okay, so some changes are reversible, others too are not what? Others too are irreversible. So reversible means it can be brought back to its original form, but irreversible means it cannot be brought back, it's difficult to be brought back to its original form. Okay, so like I said, we want to look at the definition between reversible change and irreversible change. When we talk about reversible change, we are looking at, when we talk about reversible change, we are talking about changes that are reversible. Okay, it can be brought back to its original form, but with the irreversible change, it cannot be brought back to its original form, or they are irreversible. So irreversible changes are the changes that are irreversible, but reversible changes are changes that are what? Reversible. So I want us to look at some examples of reversible change and some examples of irreversible change. Examples of reversible changes are melting of ice, okay, freezing of ice, freezing of water, the freezing of water and melting of ice. All these are examples of what? Reversible. They can be brought back to their original form. Okay, so when you melt ice to liquid, okay, you can freeze it to what? Lock it, to you can freeze the liquid to what? A solid form. So it is possible. Reversible change is possible in this scenario. Then we have irreversible change. With the irreversible change, one thing about it is that it cannot, like I said, cannot be brought back to its original form. Examples are burning wood. If you burn wood, it's very difficult to, or it is impossible to be brought back to its original form. So we say that this is an irreversible change. Another example is flying egg, okay, or boiling egg. So if you boil egg, okay, if you boil an egg, it changes from a liquid form to what? A solid form, and it is impossible to change it from the solid form to what? To its original liquid form. It is not possible. It is not possible. So this is what we mean by reversible change and what? Irreversible change. Okay, so to summarize everything, I made you to understand that certain objects are made up of what? Materials. Certain objects are made up of material, and these materials have different purposes. Okay, so for example, wood. We use wood to make what? Furniture. Some furnitures. Okay, some plastics were also used to make what? Furnitures. Okay, bricks and blocks, okay, or sand are used in what? Constructing houses. Okay, also we also mentioned glass. Glasses are also examples of materials. We have metals. We use all these materials in making what? Objects. Okay, so we have to look at relevance of it. So I mentioned that some objects can conduct electricity. Okay, we mentioned some properties of these materials, physical properties. So the first one we talked about was appearance, and I made you to understand that materials, okay, they look different. Okay, how wood looks like is different from how this the wall looks like. Okay, and how the books looks like is different from the dice appearance. We talked about how bendable they are or how malleable they are. Some materials can be bent. Okay, some can be bent. Okay, So we mentioned some examples of that. We also said some can conduct electricity. Okay, this food cannot conduct electricity, but some can conduct electricity. We also talked about the textile. Textile means how rough or smooth a substance is. Some substances are rough, others are what? Very smooth. Some are rough, some are also what? Very smooth. So I use this as an example. The cheddar I'm sitting is very, very rough. It's very, very smooth. Okay. But this part of the wall is what? Rough.